welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me, as always, is Ben Slinger.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
This week, we are going to jump straight back into some random words from what3words.com.
Because, yes, our random word generator is still down.
That's right. So we have switched over to a site that has split the planet into 3-meter squares. And we are floating through space, separating out slowly as those squares just drift off into the distance. No, not like that. Each square is given 3 words, and we just click around and use those 3 words as prompts to make video games.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you, Trevor, finding your words tonight?
I am currently in Lord Howe Island. Well, at least in the application of What 3 Words, I'm on Lord Howe Island, and that's where I'm going to click from today.
Do it. Give me your words.
I have pave, brave, mentor.
Some rhyming going on there.
Yes. Pave, brave mentor.
I feel like pave makes me think of paving over greenery, a forest, knocking down a forest to make room for skyscrapers, that sort of thing.
Yep.
So perhaps you're trying to prevent that from happening. This is like an environmental story of some sort.
Are you trying to take down your mentor from within? Like, basically, you've come on as as like an apprentice, but now you're effectively sabotaging while learning the craft. You're effectively sabotaging everything that's going on.
Okay, so you've like taken an apprenticeship with some sort of construction company.
Yep.
With like a big architect or engineer who runs this thing under the guise of learning their craft.
Yep. Of pouring a fuck ton of concrete over the Amazon rainforest, whatever.
That's what I was going to say too. Okay, and so is this about sabotaging these buildings? Is it about like putting stuff in the concrete so that it's not going to be solid, or is
too much water, or not enough concrete, or too much concrete, and therefore it's brittle as all fuck.
You put like pop rocks in there, so it's like porous.
You put bicarb in there, and it's like it's all bubbled up and
you
shit.
Just put yeast in there, and it manages to, and sugar, I guess, and it just like creates carbonation within the concrete.
Oh, and then it also becomes concrete beer.
Yeah, and then that's your whole new venture. And that's actually the game, is selling your concrete beer. No, yeah, go.
Okay, so gameplay is as follows. Like, you've got to keep trying to learn how to do all the concreting and show that you can do it competently, but then just fuck up enough to cause severe structural damage later on, but isn't noticeable right now. Because obviously you need to keep your job. If you fuck up too much, they're just going to fire you.
Yeah. I'm almost thinking, is this like a bridge constructor sort of thing, but instead of trying to build a bridge in a way that's structurally sound, there are structurally sound building designs that will be built, and you then decide how to subtly alter them, and they get tested under a variety of circumstances.
Yep. So basically, if you remove too much from it, then they're going to notice straight away, hang on, all the support beams are missing, and therefore, you're now being the focus of their next inspection and all this sort of stuff.
So we can obviously keep the whole environmental thing as a background story, but I do kind of like this idea of like these buildings going up and essentially people start going into them, and we simulate the stresses that those people create on all the different floors and things. And you have to get, like, the sort of goals are, it mustn't collapse until X number of people are in there. So essentially you're a terrorist, like killing people, but the whole thing is like, it must seem stable until enough people get in there, essentially. And we'll simulate them, like, going back and forth along floors and elevators going up and down. Yeah, and so it's, you'd be doing things like, okay, we're going to switch out the material, instead of iron rebar or whatever, it's going to be none. air. It's going to be reed-air. We're going to drill the holes for it and then not put anything in. Or whatever, like ways to essentially lessen the structural integrity enough. And then you get arrested and executed for being a terrorist, so.
Oh, no! Because, like, your mentor dobbed you in. Had you just followed along with what he was saying, he was basically, he was trying to bring him down from the inside as well, but you just had to follow what he was doing, because he was trying to do it, you know, from a tax perspective. And
yeah, this was green concrete. It was going to grow grass if you just left it for long enough. All right, I think let's.
He put marijuana seeds in them.
Yeah, totally. It was going to be totally green.
Okay, Ben, what 3 words?
All right. I have rustic booster tent.
Rustic booster tent.
Ooh,
so I went to... So my head, hang on, I'll just...
Yeah.
You want to go first, or you want me to?
All right. Yeah, no, I can go. If you're still figuring it out.
Oh, I already know my idea.
You go first.
I'm picturing this rustic farmhouse with this circus tent-like thing over the top as the house is being fumigated.
Okay.
But what's actually happening in there is the government have taken control of this particular house.
Mm-hmm.
Because underneath the house is like a secret laboratory.
Okay. My mind went to a number of places then. But let's go along these lines first. So, secret laboratory. Was this secret laboratory already there and they've taken control so that they can gain access to it?
Yeah, basically, as far as your character has known, like, this rustic farmhouse has always been in town, but you've never known anyone to live in there. And all of a sudden one day there's like a big circus tent over the top, and you hear people saying, oh, it's just been fumigated. But then you see people exiting in like, you know, full hazmat sort of stuff. Yeah. And you realize that this is like a front for like a government operation.
Okay. Have they like had a breach or something? Is that why the tent is on? Like the laboratory underneath has had some sort of breach and they've had to contain it somehow.
Yeah, I think that maybe because it's because the farmhouse is sort of breaking down a bit, and maybe it's been attacked by termites or something like that, that they're actually having to clean out the laboratory that's underneath and decommission the site.
Okay, so that's interesting. They're decommissioning it. That's kind of an interesting place to come into something like that.
Yeah, so when you do actually get in there and you start seeing, you know, almost this, say, 1850s sort of stuff within the farmhouse, but then when you go down into the basement and you see like
it's all the super modern
technology on the door, like keypad and all this sort of stuff, and you know it's very very bare down there. Like you don't quite know what's going on.
Yeah. Can this be? I'm getting a Goonies vibe.
Yeah.
I think you're a young girl.
Oh,
who
some sort of teenager, like
a kid or early teenager, and you and your friend. I like the idea of it starting at like a sleepover or something. Like maybe dare each other to go close to the house. Like maybe there's an aspect of it is this rustic old house, so there's sort of it's a bit of a creepy old house.
So are you in there alone, or are you in there with your friend?
I think that depends on what type of game we want to make it.
I'm seeing it as a VR sort of experience.
Okay.
Because there's just something about hiding behind like a box when you hear the door sort of opening, and you quickly hide behind, you know, some shelves or something, and you're peeking through like a box. Like you've been able to push a couple of boxes aside, and see, you know, these people in hazmat suits just walk out, and they're sort of having a conversation that you only hear like the tail end of. Yeah,
so essentially like a VR stealth game.
Yeah. It's kind of like a Gone Home-esque sort of thing, in which there's certain things like I'm not picturing it being a full on, if you're out in the open, all this stuff's going to happen. I'm seeing it more like it's a story that's happening, that you're involved in, that when you go to hide, that's when the door opens, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's more like triggering scenes that are going to play out. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. So a bit more environmental storytelling as you make your way through this house, some sort of basic, I guess, puzzle solving. And I like the idea then that your friend, she'll meet you at a window and you'll have a little scene there, or she's on the outside, or maybe she calls for help or different. Yeah, but essentially you get in touch with her throughout the thing, but most of the time, yes, you're alone in this house.
Okay, so how big is the laboratory underneath the house?
Depends how much time we have to make the game.
We don't have a weekend. We've got more than that.
Okay. Well, okay, what are they making down here? So one of my words was booster. So is this some sort of malicious vaccine or something?
I don't think it's a malicious vaccine. I think this is just one of the vaccine sort of laboratories that they were.
Oh, so we're going to, okay, that could be interesting. This whole thing is, essentially your character is thinking it's this government conspiracy or something.
In reality, it's just, the reason why they hid these sort of things around the country is so that, industrial, the, espionage.
Well, and there's all the fucking, alt-right anti-vaxxers out there who are trying to shut this shit down.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's kind of got that Gone Home-esque vibe where you sort of build up that tension, but then it just gets diffused in, hopefully a satisfying way still. But
yes.
Okay. Cool.
You can literally, sort of while you're in there, the door sort of locks and then the lights just go out.
Mm. You can have some great moments where it seems like someone's seen you and is chasing after you or something, when, really it's just incidental that they happen to be going the same direction as you or whatever, or some alarm's gone off, so they're running and you, get out of the way on time and they don't see you, but, it's because your friend, broke a window trying to...
it's all about the sound design. I'm picturing... hearing those footsteps coming down the hallway, and I was listening to, can't remember what it was last night that I was actually, checking out, but basically, it was a certain sound that always sounds like it's getting, going up.
Higher in pitch,
but it's actually circular. So it's never getting any higher, but it's basically, it can cause, some people to freak out and all this sort of stuff because it sounds like it's continually getting louder.
I know. It's bizarre. Yeah, I've heard it.
Yeah. I like the idea of, you sort of take it that it gradually gets louder and louder and louder, but you can have that sort of cyclic thing of, it sounds like it's getting louder and louder and louder and then, starts from just behind.
You can build tension that way, essentially, without worrying about the pitch getting too high if they don't do the thing you want them to. I'm sure that's used a bit in those sort of in games already. I imagine that sort of technique, but I think you're definitely building tension. I think it's mostly an exploratory game. You're picking things up, you're looking at them, you're reading them, you're trying to figure out what's going on. Maybe there are sort of stealth aspects that are more around triggering these events, and it might be throw something over there to distract them, and that triggers them to move so you can go past or whatever. But not full on, worrying about line of sight. And
okay, so the sort of things that I'm picturing first off is, you can sort of go through the house and you can, as you're going through, you find a diary, and it sort of talks about the end of the 1880s or something like that. And it's really, really, really old. So you're thinking this is literally an old farmhouse that no one's lived in for over 140 years sort of thing, or 130 years. But then you notice there's, in the kitchen, where the fridge is, you see some scratch marks on the ground, so you can see that the fridge is being pulled forwards.
Yeah.
And you can maybe find something that actually
environmental signals. I mean,
Yep.
to figure out what you got to do, or maybe some sort of, because you could play with light temperature really interestingly. Like if all of the old, they're either old incandescent lights or even like I don't know,
an oil lamp or something like that.
But then you see this like high intensity sort of whitish blue light shining from somewhere. Like that could be really incongruous and really guide you to, obviously finding what you're looking for.
I mean, I'm picturing the guys walking out of the lab and one of them accidentally drops an ID badge on the ground. So you can pick up that ID badge and now you can, it's the ID, RFID. So you can sort of scan it and then, the door sort of just opens up.
You just get this nice clean light coming out into this rustic old.
It's all, I kind of like the idea of fluoro tubes. They look so unnatural and has this brilliant bright light. And when you go in there, it's that pristine sort of laboratory, white. All the way down the corridor, and you see some labs off to the side, and all this sort of stuff.
So how do we resolve this then? So if you end up finding out, okay, this is just like essentially a secret vaccine laboratory, but needing to be hidden for the right reasons.
I kind of think that the ending is, as much as this is going to kind of suck. You kind of go into one of the laboratories, and as you're searching through some of the vials, you get pricked.
Oh God!
Like on your finger by an unknown sort of syringe, and it's basically the something starts happening to your hand, and that's when you sort of turn around and there's like the scientist there that sort of says you got to come with us, and maybe that's a perfect time to end that sort of thing. But you can have a few puzzles leading up to that.
Yeah, there are a few things you can do, I guess. Hopefully we'd be able to write a satisfying ending. Let me tell you about the idea that I had when you were talking about this, because I thought it was kind of fun. So you were talking about this rustic old house that was being fumigated. For whatever reason, my mind immediately went to the insects in this house and how that for them is like a world-shattering event. And so it's essentially a disaster movie for these insects trying to get out of this house.
Ooh, yes.
And so I don't know if you play it that they've got like vehicles and stuff so you can have fucking chase scenes as, I don't know, gas is like dropping down around you and huge fucking insects are falling out of the sky or something as they all die, or different things that are happening in this house preventing you from getting away and making it essentially an action disaster movie game. I like a lot. I'm picturing what type of bug are you? Are you like an ant or just like a nondescript bug? Or we can go with the classic cockroach of like survival because they're gonna survive everything. Or we could play with that and the cockroach is just like, whatever, man. Like, I'm going to go on anyway as you try to get your family out. So my question is, like, when you think of, a lot of the sort of giant sort of things in games and that sort of stuff seem to move very, very slow. Yeah. Like, things that are much larger than you seem to move a lot slower than you do. So I'm imagining that if you're really, really small, that time sort of moves a lot faster for you. So yeah, I like that. So I'm picturing some great scenes actually where I think it's full on, like there's this insect city. Yep. Maybe it's like underneath the floorboards and there's a bit of broken floorboard that you can see to the outside or something. Because I'm loving the idea of essentially a shadow coming over the sun, like as if the sun's being blocked, but that's the tent coming down on the outside, and you see the windows like go.
Okay, so what colour do you think the tent is?
I think this classic is a sort of a blue and yellow, and like I think it's the classic fumigation tent that you'd think of.
I immediately thought of blue and yellow. So I think that is fantastic. Like just getting that sort of blue wash, yellow wash, blue wash, yellow wash, kind of then a mixture of that sort of blue yellow
you
wash
that,
with a line, a crisp line across your face.
You see the city essentially like cut into these blue and yellow segments by this as the sunlight changes coming through the window. And so like you have a scene there, shit plays out, you know, maybe you're at work and you get home to your family or something to find out what's going on. These super dramatic scenes of, let's say you're let's make you a spider, because I feel like they're so often the villains.
Mm-hmm.
Reckon you're like a house spider.
Just a tiny house spider?
Yeah, like just a little one.
Anthropomorphic?
Yeah, I think relatively anthropomorphic. Because they've got cities and stuff, and I reckon they've got
do they walk in their back legs for the most part, and then like when they need to, they just sort of go down on all of them and go blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, if they run, then it's like on all eight.
On all fours. And
I nearly said all fours. They're running on all eights. And yeah, and then you get to have a scene where like, and it's, you play it as if it's like a meteor coming down, but it's the big gas canister being shot in and slowly going across the sky, trailing gas behind it, and then like exploding as it hits the ground to just like create a mushroom cloud of this gas that then starts spreading. And so you get some great scenes where you're, I don't know, you're hitching a ride on a fucking housefly or something. At some point you get like a flying scene.
I want it to be a dragonfly. There's just something about a dragonfly that just, like, is really cool. I kind of like the idea that one of the characters that you come across is, like, a funnel web, who, like, one of the Sydney funnel webs that just, they get a little bit spooked and they get really, really angry. They reach up on the back and it's like, you're talking to me, mate.
That's good, but I was also thinking, don't they build bunkers? Like, don't they essentially build little, like, holes that they can close up?
Yeah.
Is that the funnel web?
Yeah.
Because I love that, because they're basically a doomsday prepper then, right? So, yeah, you meet this fucking funnel web who's like, oh, I knew this day was coming. I built my bunker. You know, no, you can't come in. Like,
and you go to say something. He goes, what, you talking to me, mate? And he starts, like, hitting his chest like a dude bro and all this sort of stuff.
Totally. Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of like your wife, I guess, has all the babies, like egg sacs or something on her back. Like that's what you're trying to get out of here for, because you've got like
a family.
You've got like 1,000 eggs that are ready to hatch.
Yeah.
Trying to escape.
It's our first brood.
And then I love like some huge dramatic escape scene as the gas like finally reaches the edge of the house and you like bust through a hole. Like you manage to smash a window and then fly through it at the last second as all the gas comes pouring out behind you.
And I'm just imagining that you use your fangs on the edge of the tent, and you're like cutting that little hole as you're like going all the way down.
Jesus,
kind of that typical pirate thing of sticking a knife in the sail and going all the way down. I love the idea of sticking a fang into the into the tent. Or you go to do it the first time, it just sort of sticks there and you don't actually do anything, but then your wife jumps on the back with all the eggs and she helps drag you down.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's cool. I love that idea of using those classic disaster movie tropes in that context.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. All right, Trevor, hey, what 3 words?
Navigation, concession, haunts.
Haunts. Oh. Okay. I do like the idea of like a ghost haunting a circus or something.
Okay, I saw this as I was going with navigation more than concession.
Okay.
And I was seeing it that you're playing a ghost pirate.
Okay.
On the Seven Seas. So let's go with yours first, and then we'll come over to mine.
Well, the other potentially better idea that I just had with thinking of concession was it could also be like a movie theater.
Yep.
With concessions, although I don't know where navigation comes in at that point.
Well, you can always include, what's showing on the screen is like some sort of pirate movie or something like that, but it's just a background sort of thing. Or you got to navigate the back of this theater.
Are there ghosts here who like take the form of whatever is like the top movie showing at that time?
Could be.
You can have some fun like character stuff happening.
So I suppose the idea is, are we one of the ghosts who is haunting this place, or are we, the concession stand sort of runner who also, as part of their job description, they have to make sure that none of the patrons realize that the whole cinema is haunted.
Right. So you have like dialogue puzzles where when one of the ghosts appears in full pirate garb, you have to like pass it off as a publicity stunt.
I kind of like the idea that, the reason why, the usher and that sort of stuff goes into the theater with the flashlight is actually to find the ghosts and kick them out.
That could be the game. There's a VR game in shining a flashlight around, finding ghosts who are like mimicking what's on the screen in some way and playing different characters, and then you have like little dialogue scenes with them or something. That could be cool.
And it's all about, you got to check the tickets, and then you got to also like have a look to see if there's that glint in the eyes or whether the light is actually shining through them.
It's like it goes trying to get in and watch the movie.
I'm imagining that there's like ghosts sometimes that sit in the theater, and then there's other ones who are sort of like down the front in front of the screen, acting out and all this sort of stuff.
But you can only see them when you shine the light on them. That's some cool stuff there. I also like the idea of like going into a full cinema and having to spot the ghosts in there by the fact that if you shine the light on them, you might see them, go transparent or different things, but you have to do it without pissing off the patrons. So if you start like shining into people's eyes, then they're all going to...
They call the manager. And the manager doesn't know that there's ghosts all the way through this place. But then, you get in trouble if there's a whole heap of people who haven't paid for tickets when he goes through and counts. So it's all about...
Right, does a head count, yeah. Doesn't match up.
He goes, I counted 20 people in there. You only sold 18 tickets. I'm like, oh, damn it.
Docking your pay. And you're some old caretaker usher who's been there for 30 years and keeping these ghosts at bay.
Yep. I love that.
That's cool.
Hey, Ben, what 3 words?
Yeah. All right. Stealthier, juniors, inordinate. Now, inordinate means unusually or disproportionately large or excessive. Okay.
Juniors, I immediately think of children. Mm-hmm. And so I'm thinking that is basically you're in a place where you're looking after like extraordinarily large children. So it's sort of like Honey, I Blew Up the Kid sort of thing.
Yeah. So it's like Jurassic Park, but it's a daycare.
See, I'm actually gonna say that my next set of words are going to come in very close to what we're kind of doing right now.
Okay, well, maybe we can
with the childcare. So, but I'm going to take my next one very, very dark. So,
all right. Well, I think let's keep this one lighter. I do kind of like the idea of essentially making a zoo/theme park. But instead of dinosaurs, it's giant babies.
Yep.
And so you're having to create, like, big sleepy mats or whatever for them to, the big balls for them to play with and make sure they don't smash out
could
of
you
the
imagine the
place.
size of the ball pit?
Yeah. It's like Ball Pit Valley.
These kids jump into it, and it's like those big gym balls that we sort of have, that, exercise balls that you can sort of sit on, except for kids, they're like the size of marbles.
So is this a child, like, are you for some reason a regular sized person running a childcare for giants?
Yes. I love it.
So
Jack and the Beanstalk Childcare.
I don't know if they'll like that connotation there, since of knowing what Jack did to the Giants, but
You're really not going to like my words then.
all right. I think then we can we can imagine how you would go with a Jurassic Park style management game where you are running a childcare for babies. Trevor, what words do you have?
Nourishing childcare contingent.
Oh, God. Okay, tell me where you're going with it.
My head has gone to, basically, you're a vampire in a childcare looking after all these kids, and you're just trying to have a little sneaky snack on the side every now and again.
So you're breeding these children? Like, is this a farm?
No, you're looking after the children like a normal childcare. It's just occasionally you need a snack. And it's the contingency on what happens if one of these children die.
Oh, God.
Because you ate too much.
Trevor, I don't know how to make this horrible idea into a game, though. Are you just like...
Your name is Dracula, and you're running a childcare. And it's all about keeping your thirst down while also looking after children and not killing
That
them.
was a Freudian slip. Looking after children.
The children in the cauldron.
So okay, you've got to keep your thirst down. How is this? Just by... Are you somehow keeping track of, like, how much blood is in each child? Do you have, like, some sort of blood vision?
You look at their neck and you see, like, how much, how fast their heart is currently pumping.
You get like a Mortal Kombat style zoom into their carotid artery.
Yep.
Showing the pulse of the blood. So, is there any other way you get blood, or it's literally just you have to feed from these children before they go home?
Well, I think, you've brought along X amount of blood for the day, but these kids keep on tripping over and, cutting their knees and all this sort of stuff. And you see blood running and you just sort of...
So it's not just the thirst, it's also the bloodlust.
It's the lust.
You're trying to keep
it's
control.
the lust. It's the contingency on how you keep, yourself occupied when, dealing with knee scrapes and, occasional cuts and abrasions.
So you're having to constantly just, like, do little quick time events to not kill a child?
Not go to
it's
town
like,
on
little Billy scraped his knee. I'm just gonna put a band-aid. I'm just gonna put a band-aid on here.
It's like, I need to change your dressing.
Oh, Trevor just mimed licking a bandage. So we're moving on. Because that's just fucking... That's just too far. Too far. All right.
Oh, God, that was great. What 3 words, Ben?
Furnace, Earthbound, Academy.
Ooh. Ooh, me like
These are an evocative set of words there. Some sort of sci-fi...
Yeah, definitely.
Sort of thing.
I'm getting visions. Well, not visions. You know that I don't have visions, but my thoughts are going to sort of Ender's Game, sort of academy.
Yeah. So I was thinking space elevator of some sort involved with that, just because Earthbound is like the direction of the elevator as it goes down.
Okay. So is this a world where humans have actually evacuated Earth, but are living in space stations above the planet? And as part of like the school, we do excursions down to the planet.
I like that. Earth has become uninhabitable, but before that happened, we managed to build the space elevators.
Oh, I don't think it's uninhabitable. I think it's more the fact that we realized that humans are actually fucking up the planet so much that if humans weren't on the planet, then maybe the planet would like self-correct.
Well, okay, maybe not fully uninhabitable, but it's because I was taking that furnace is that like the climate change has gotten so bad that it's like inexorably hot down there.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very difficult. Maybe there are people still living, like, groups of people still living down there and managing to survive in fucking caves and underground or something.
Not even there, like bubble cities. Like I'm imagining, they're the ones that you got to be careful of because they're the ones that are still producing a lot of these greenhouse gases because they effectively live in greenhouses.
That's interesting. Okay. There's like a conflict between the spacefaring folk and those who stayed on Earth and built these cities that are still pumping out,
tons of greenhouse gas. It's just that they're not, they're comfortable within their bubble.
So, yeah, exactly. Like they've decided, okay, well, by continuing to consume resources and pollute the atmosphere, we're able to keep ourselves safe. And like everyone else is fucked off anyway, so it's much easier to now because we're all in these cities. Okay, that's cool.
So are you an exchange student? So you're from the spacefaring city and you're heading down into one of the bubble cities to...
I like the idea of setting up the status quo first with your character.
Mm-hmm.
So I think... because I do like this idea, and we should probably decide what sort of academy this is, because why would they go... like, if Earth is dangerous, why are they going down there?
Well, I see this as like almost like a combination between the Scouts and like Greenpeace, in that these people are actually trying to fix the Earth and collect badges and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah,
because I just love that.
Okay, so
that
they essentially
idea
go down on like scouting and science missions.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of military sort of thing involved, or like security in that way? Because I'm just thinking about like how intense is this conflict with the Earthbound folk?
I think as long as you stay away from the bubble cities, you're kind of okay because they never venture out of their bubbles anyway.
Right.
But what you got to deal with is the wildlife.
Yeah, which is now like evolved and mutated to like
to handle the increased temperatures and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. All right, that's cool. So what I was going to say, I think maybe one of your classmates ends up being, is either an exchange student and comes in, or is some sort of spy, like infiltrating, I guess it depends on how much conflict between those two factions we want to bring in, or if we want to keep it a bit more civil and it's more about exploring the politics between them and the sort of personal relationships between their different ideals.
Okay, so you as a scout, what is your main mission in this game? I'm thinking it's to plant a new plant. Like effectively you're going down with a troop and you've got all these plants that you're trying to plant down there, doing something very small. But it's sort of like a pilgrimage that you gotta take. So your idea is to actually plant it in like the garden that your grandmother, you want to plant it in like a place that means something to your family.
I do like that. I wonder if there's some sort of big mission that the spacefaring people are doing where they're essentially, they want to move on and colonize a new planet and treat it better.
Mm-hmm.
But they need like samples and seeds and things from the Earth, whatever can be scavenged and found and recovered, essentially either to like build big colony ships or just to, when they get to a planet, sort of help to terraform it in that way.
Okay. One of the things that they want to be able to do is take a catalogue of all the animals sort of within this area. So effectively, if you can, if you're attacking an animal, you can sort of, get a little syringe full of blood of, certain animals, and you want to get a male and female sort of pair because, the cloning has got pretty good, but they want to be able to, when they move to a new planet, they want to make sure that, these species are surviving. It's kind of like Noah's Ark, but in reverse.
Yeah.
In the fact that you're actually trying to gather all the DNA for it.
Yeah, well, I wonder if... I do like the idea of sampling them, whether it's cataloguing them just for like whether you got some sort of scanner or something in a bit of a like No Man's Sky sort of way, or if you have to somehow, because if you have to get in contact then with these animals, then that definitely brings in that aspect of sort of combat in that way and bringing them down or hunting them, which is fine. Like if that's the direction we want to go in.
Well, I'm thinking that the idea is that you're trying to not harm these animals, but you're also trying to, the only way to get the proper DNA for it is to, take, a sample of their blood, because that contains all the...
Yeah, for sure. I'm just trying to think of what that gameplay loop looks like. So I'm sort of picturing first person or third person gameplay. Is this sort of, I don't know, Horizon Zero Dawn style sort of thing where they're attacking you and you're trying to like get close enough by ducking and rolling and getting a hit in to get that DNA? Or is it more like, we're sneaking up on them and it staying downwind and, getting close enough with that?
I do like this Horizon Zero Dawn aspect in the fact that, you've got little to no combat that you can actually do, but this is all about dodging. This is all
dodging
about
and getting close enough,
getting the stuff, and then getting away.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like,
I like that as an alternative to full on combat. That's cool.
So it's all about rolling in the right direction to then get behind, to getting close enough to.
Yeah, it's about learning their attacks, essentially. So that, yes, you can dodge out of the way, and then when they have their sort of breathing moment between attacks, you can perhaps get up close and get them with that syringe. And maybe, I don't know, if you have to get a certain amount, so you might have to hit them multiple times. And, if we go full on action RPG in that way, like you could be upgrading your tools over time.
You do a whole thing of, I didn't hit the vein. Okay, got to go again.
I've tried too many times with this one. I'm running out of spots. I'm going to have to do it between the toes. Well, I wonder that could be an alternative though. Is not that. Sorry, that's not a good segue, but you could have ways to tranquilize them and stuff too. Perhaps.
Yes,
you could maybe have alternate paths.
Throw a stun grenade in there, and that's pretty good fun.
Yeah, and again, sort of like Horizon Zero Dawn, where you've got you need to use different techniques for different types of creatures that are down there. So you've got flying creatures, you've got charging creatures, you've got burrowing creatures, you've got just creatures that are have a lot of armor or whatever. So maybe you have to get the syringe from a certain position, or you have to knock them over so you can hit them in the belly with the syringe or something. I don't know. Different things you could put in place there.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the idea of it being non-lethal and a lot of collection stuff as well. Like you're also
And
gathering
I think it's
plants
because
and-
you're either a student or you're effectively like a science assistant or something like that. You know, the academy that you're there for is it's a scientific expedition.
Yeah, for sure. Now,
Essentially.
is this just the first act and then we pump it up and have some people from the other faction who then start and they're actually like trying to attack you, and then you need to utilize those techniques to still non-lethally perhaps, but like escape and get away from the enemies.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Just to really ramp it up then and build up that.
Yeah,
build the stakes a bit.
What sort of bosses? Because these games always, sort of go well if there's like a big boss sort of monster. Mm-hmm. I'm picturing that there's like, because it's so hot out there, I'm thinking that you got like a massive lava worm or something like that you...
I was thinking like a snake. Yeah, I was thinking like some sort of worm or snake. Yeah.
And then you got like, different big colossal creatures that sort of are in each of the biomes. So you got one that's in the desert sort of area, one that's in like a really hot and humid rainforesty area, deep in the sea.
I do like that idea of the sea one would be cool. I do like that idea of essentially you've got the different space elevators that were built in different areas of the world. And as you sort of complete one area in that very open world action game sort of way, you can like fast travel or whatever to the other space elevator, and that's your new sort of kicking off point for a different biome and different areas.
And I'm picturing that something that you pick up in the rainforest biome is going to help you take down like the massive sandworms, because I'm just picturing the huge sandworms from June. Like that to me is a perfect specimen of what you're going after.
And we need those on the new planet.
Exactly.
Why would we not have giant sandworms on this new planet? That's really cool. I love that. I love that world, actually. I feel like there's a lot of stories we could build off of that whole thing with I definitely just love the visual of like descending down this space elevator as you duck into like the big clouds, red clouds of the dust that's come up from the dust bowl in this particular area. And
100% this is set in Australia, because we've pretty much got all the biomes here.
Well, I think you set one in Australia. I feel like it's got to be...
Oh, the red clouds have got to be you going through the red desert, basically.
Yeah, for sure. Giant fucking kangaroos and things. You've got the megafauna has all come back.
Megafauna.
All right. Give me some words, Trevor.
Essential, absorbent, boxful.
Boxful?
Boxful.
As in, like,
I'm literally saying that this is literally a essential tissue box.
What word is boxful? All right, an essential tissue box.
Yeah.
Are you a teenager who can't stop masturbating?
Of course, that's where your head went. I immediately went to, I'm seeing that you've gone into the bathroom of your grandmother's place and all this sort of stuff, and there's this beautiful ornate, like, you know how a lot of grandmothers have like tissue box covers?
Yes. I love that you went to a lot of grandmothers. Yes, I do know the tissue box covers. They'll have like a nice bit of lace.
Nice bit of lace, or it's like a decorative metal cover sort of thing, or you've got, basically this tissue box is, seen as this is what brings the bathroom together.
It's like the centerpiece of the bathroom.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because I remember growing up that my grandmother had, one of those really lacy sort of things that she put over the tissue box and all that sort of stuff. Because it was like the essential thing that she had in that bathroom, it sort of brought everything else together. Everything else was sort of chosen off of that design.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of...
every time you draw a tissue
exactly
from this tissue box, you jump dimensions.
Okay, yep.
And so the bathroom itself never changes. The bathroom's kind of like a TARDIS in that way, where it's just always the same, but you never know what you're going to hit when you open that door after pulling another tissue.
It's because your grandmother always said, only pull one each time.
She was very against wastefulness.
Yes. It turns out it's because you pull two out at a time and you end up in a new dimension and you're sliding between dimensions and therefore, it's all about making your way back.
Yeah, I think it's very much sniffling between dimensions and... Yeah, is it that you pull two? I think... Is it that if you pull two, you end up in a dimension that's like two removed from your dimension, so it's so unrecognizable then that it's very hard to find your way back?
Yeah. So then it's all about... I think as soon as you move into this new dimension and you go out, someone sort of sneaks past you, sneaks into the bathroom and takes some extra tissues. And as you go in, like that tissue box isn't there anymore, sort of thing. Like it's moved on to the next dimension.
Well,
so
I was almost thinking that because I do like the idea of sort of almost an adventure game where every time you pull this tissue, you've got another puzzle to solve, and you go out and like you meet your grandma from this dimension. There's always your grandma there,
and she's always the exact same sort of person. She's a very special being in that she actually, she's connected throughout all these different areas. So she's almost the same person, and you can talk to her in each one.
Does she recognize that?
And she recognizes, why are you here? Like, you're not from this dimension.
Right. I do like the idea of her being a bit different in each one, though. Like, in this one, she's a hippie. In this one, she's a Nazi. In this one, she's...
Oh, God.
The usual little old lady. In this one, I don't know. She never had children, and she's like, how is this possible? I'm not your grandma.
I kind of like the idea that she's gone through what you're going through right now. So when she was growing up, she took out a couple too many tissues, and she ended up like in the dimension that you ended up being in. So the grandma isn't from your dimension.
I
kind of like that idea.
Yeah,
she replaced the real grandmother from there, and one of the times that you go out, she's literally not there, and you realize that this is the time period that this is the dimension that she was originally from.
Yeah, and you kind of have to go and you find your mother who lost. I guess. It depends on when she did it, but...
You find your great aunt.
Yeah, who lost her sister 70 years ago.
Yeah.
Just disappeared into thin air. That's kind of fun.
It is.
And I just like exploring your different grandmas.
I love the idea that, you've got this single actress who gets to play all these different versions of the characters.
Yeah. Sure, fun with that for sure.
Okay, question: who are you seeing as the grandmother?
Oh, I didn't have someone specific in mind. Now that you've asked, I think my mind just went to the most grandma-like person, and I am thinking Betty White.
That's a very good choice.
Although, didn't she just turn like 99 or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Jesus.
My head was going through, is Maggie Smith a good choice? Is Judi Dench? But then my mind went to Sally Field.
Sally Field? Yeah.
Sally Field could be really quite cool. The Flying Nun, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, I could see that. That's not a bad choice.
Yep.
She's just got the range for sure.
Okay, Ben. Last time. What are your 3 words?
Ever. No, not ever. We're going to keep doing this, even if you don't want us to. Cheerio dust viewings. I saw Cheerio dust and I had to...
Oh, yeah, of course.
I had to go with it.
Okay, so your roommate has just eaten the last of the Cheerios, and all that is left is the dust in the bottom of the packet.
Is this some sort of mundane investigation where you're tracking down Cheerio dust fingerprints to find who
which of your
all your porn or something?
Oh, I'm thinking which of your roommates was the culprit, because they're the ones that have to go out and buy the new Cheerios.
Right. These are like disgusting college boys, and they've got one of those giant bags of Cheerios, you know, like the human-sized bags, essentially, or buckets or whatever. And yeah, someone finished the last one, and so this whole game is about tracking down Cheerio crumbs across your house or whatever that you're all living in.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to all the people that you come across as these, you know, Cheerio droppings lead you in their direction. And you find reasons why they're not the culprit.
They had some, but they didn't finish it. And they can prove it because they took a photo.
Because he's a selfie I took with Greg, who, you know, was sharing them around.
And you can tell that Greg was about to have some because he had a carton of milk in his hands, and you know, the cereal packet was up like this.
I just totally realized this whole time that I was thinking of Cheetos, not Cheerios. And then you said cereal, and I realized that I was wrong. Mm-hmm. So I'm retroactively saying it was Cheetos because that's funnier. and makes all my old other stuff make sense. Because Cheeto dust makes much more sense than Cheerio dust.
Yep.
So let's just keep
so that's going to be a fun edit for me. Yay! You'll guess that I didn't do anything. I just left it.
Don't edit it. We'll just continue on as if it's Cheetos because that is a better thing.
Yes. Okay. So there's the orange dust fingerprints.
Yeah, exactly.
On the remote control.
That's what's been in my head this whole time is the orange Cheeto dust.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yes, it's like piecing together the evidence. Do you have like your big like evidence board?
You got to draw like the string in between.
Red strings and stuff. It's like, well, it can't have been this person because
it's all about the timeline. You need to be able to work out what the actual timeline of it was. Because that otherwise it leads you down the wrong path.
And I think the whole game starts off with you hearing a crunch of someone eating the last Cheeto.
Ooh, okay. Blackout. Crunch. Eyes open.
Yep.
And it's like, who's eating my Cheetos? And you go out there.
You go
and
out into
the bucket is turned over. It's on its side. There's only orange dust left, and there's like a little trail.
Yep. And that sets you on your way.
Yep.
And yeah, you've got this essentially big share house of all these college kids. Or dorms or something.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's a frat. So
right.
You've got like literally 20 people who could be the culprit.
Yep. Yep. Let's somehow make it a mixed. I think just a share house because I don't want it just to be all fucking frat dudes. Because that's horrible.
So co-ed dorm.
Yeah, some sort of co-ed dorm or co-ed share house in some way. You know, just off campus or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, you're tracking down and you're like. Go in where Julie is like doing her, studying for a big exam, and you talk to her about it, and she's like, "No, you know that I don't eat unnatural food colorings."
And it's like, well, why is there Cheeto dust on your light switch? She goes, "Oh, well, Henry was in here earlier. Maybe you want to talk to him."
Yeah, exactly. He was. Being a dick as usual, turning off my lights while I'm trying to study.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you go track down. Yeah, so it's going through, it's figuring out the timeline. You get photos from people's phones and webcams. You get...
Oh, I like the idea that you go into Henry's room and you actually see that he's got a small packet of Cheetos there. So you know that he's been eating Cheetos.
But they weren't your Cheetos.
They were his Cheetos because he's got a packet there.
I like the idea that at some point you literally have to get one of the science students to like check on a sample to determine which brand this Cheeto dust came from?
Yeah, because I'm imagining that that Henry's actually got the extra hot Cheetos. So it's actually, you go to taste it and it's like, oh my God, it's so hot. Like it's put in my tongue.
Okay,
you lick the that's what switch. This is what I'm currently following.
Yeah, so it's tracking down that trail. And eventually you find that it was this raccoon that got in. Sponsored by Cheetos and Cheerios for some reason.
Sponsored by Cheetos and Cheerios.
New Cheeto Cheerios.
Okay, we're going to do one more.
All right. Tell me what you got, mister.
Turbulence. Bunny. Implanted.
Okay.
So the scene is set. It's on a plane traveling over the Pacific. Heavy turbulence. And you hear, like, in the back row, these two scientists talking about how the code is implanted in the bunny in the hold.
Okay.
And it's kind of like, it's an espionage thing on a plane.
When you said turbulence and bunny, I went straight to Con Air.
See, I went to scientists because I was thinking a lot about bunny and something being implanted in the bunny.
Sure. Sure. So, okay, is this a domestic? I mean, is this just like a passenger flight?
It's a passenger flight. You're maybe the air marshal.
Okay.
So you're sort of hearing
VR.
Ooh, yes, that could work quite well. So you've sort of got free reign to sort of head anywhere that you want in the plane, but of course you need to be very careful about how you do this because if you're away for too long, so you may hear about people talking about something going down in the hold or some sort of deal, something like that. But if you're away from the cabin for too long, you're not able to make sure that all the passengers are doing the right thing. But of course,
yeah, okay. I was just going to say, instead of the air marshal, I wonder if this is like a James Bondish sort of situation, because I kind of like the idea of someone in your ear and like you're there specifically because there's something on this flight. And because then I'm thinking like you can plant bugs on particular seats. You have to like maybe
that is kind of cool.
Get someone to shift or switch seats or something. Or you've got different little techniques that you need to do to find out the information you need.
Okay. So, I like this idea. You've put a bug right at the very back of the plane, outside the toilets, and you get in your ear, like, you can hear someone talking about something happening in the hold or something like that. Someone has a distinctive accent, but you can't actually see who it is down there because obviously the curtain's being pulled across.
Yep.
And then the idea is that, you're trying to figure out who these two people are. You're trying to, being able to point them out from their accent or something like that. But
do we go full Return of the Obra Dinn and you have to like identify everyone on the plane? You've got the manifest and you have to like narrow down who all these people are by planting bugs and looking at their like sneaking looks at their like a wallet got left in the toilet or something and you have to match the face up to someone on the plane. And
okay. Yeah. Ooh. Is this after the plane has landed sort of thing? So maybe you're tracking down what the spy on the plane was actually doing. So as you go to each new location, you can sort of go, okay, now I see that, the spy's been here, he put a bug here, and like there's a recording on that bug sort of thing, and you can sort of...
And that gives you a bit more information to like eliminate, essentially, by process of elimination, people off the manifest.
Basically, the spy has actually been killed, and this is the reason why you've been brought in. You're basically now trying to track down what happened on this plane, who actually killed the spy, and what actually happened to this plane, because it sort of turned up with the spy dead and no one else on the plane.
Right. Well, I don't know about no one else on the plane. I feel like maybe the plane landed and then the spy was found dead somewhere, or
found dead in the hold, or found dead in like the out of order toilet or something like that.
But are they like unrecognizable? Is there, because there's got to be a reason why you need to like track down who they were on the plane or something.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea that they're literally just, you know, a fleshy blob that, you know, they've had some sort of virus that sort of
whatever weapon,
a flesh-eating virus or something like that.
Yeah, because yes, I do really like the idea of that Obra Dinn style gameplay, but you're tracking it down purely through like witness testimony and recordings from a bug, and like you managed to get hold of
small security cam footage
or like someone's phone selfies or whatever that has timestamps on them, and so you're really cross-referencing all this stuff, and
it's all about, you know, trying to work out who entered that bathroom last, because the majority of people said that toilet was out of order for the majority of the flight. But you know for a fact the spy was around during, you know, dinner service, which happened, you know, 3/4 of the way through. So when did they end up in the in that out of order toilet to perish, essentially?
So wait, are we trying to figure out who they are, or are we trying to figure out who killed them?
Who killed them, and also what they were investigating.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I like that idea as well of like, you immediately eliminate like a bunch of people because you get a certain frame of footage or set of footage.
I mean,
from,
really,
like,
you don't even have to
off
be
the plane at the end, or
you don't actually have to be, you know, the handler of this spy. You can literally be just investigating this dead body. And then as you're tracking all the stuff that he was doing, it's sort of like, hang on, there was this bug on the wall from, and all this sort of stuff. And then you find out a little bit more about this guy, that, you know, he was actually investigating something, and like, he did have talks with the air marshal at some stage. When you talk to the air marshal, you know, he's sort of giving a little bit of stuff saying that, this guy had a British accent, and, you know.
Right, yeah. And like saying, you know, sometime between, I think, you know, it was, I remember it was just before the dinner service, because like the drinks, you know, he was talking to me, and then the drinks tray came through, and like he had to move or whatever, you know, so.
Yeah. There's just so many things that you could do with this. And I'm seeing, like, once you get the timeline sort of right, you start taking things out of that timeline and sort of going, this is what we know. He died, you know, sometime in the flight. Now you need to sort of pinpoint when that was and who was around here, and like, why does he appear in the security footage down in the hold? You know, and why is he the only one that was appearing, yet you could see that he was having a conversation with someone. So it's sort of like,
I like that a lot. And I like the idea that you might have to deal with like unreliable witnesses and stuff too.
Oh yeah.
So it's not just, this person said that they were there at, you know, 3:00, because actually they made a mistake.
You can point out a contradiction.
And it was 1:00.
You can point out a contradiction basically between two testimonies, and then they go, "Oh yeah, it did happen before this scene occurred." And then you know, they talk about like a fight that occurred between, you know, two passengers, and then you can investigate that a little bit more, and you find out, you know, what his role in that was.
Yeah,
you know,
you're essentially having to find corroborating evidence for certain pieces on your timeline to narrow down who was involved and what time they happened and where.
Oh, I'm just imagining how many different fights you can have, and, you know, in one scene where this couple are taking, you know, a photo, you know, of themselves as a couple, and the rest of the plane, you can sort of see, you know, this guy and a stewardess actually having a bit of an argument in the background, and, you know, you can look into that a little bit more. Like, you can just see, like,
then
the curtain parted slightly, and you see them behind the curtain, you know.
Yeah. Well, then you look at, like, the flight, like, the plane, the seating plan. It's like, okay, well, they're pretty close to this seat. Can I track down who was sitting there so I can ask them, like, hey, do you remember this? And, you know, certain people are unavailable for whatever reason, or only available after you've solved certain other things or whatever. That's really cool. I like that. you essentially get on all these video calls with different passengers and stuff, and there's a lot of people on this flight who are remarkably suspicious for just unrelated reasons. You then, you figure out what was making them behave suspiciously.
It turns out
generally a mundane situation.
It turns out that one of the passengers looks like he was 25, but is actually, in actual fact, only 17, but he had a lot of alcohol. So he was literally being shifty because, he broke the law getting alcohol with a fake ID. So he's not wanting to.
Well, yeah. And that's part of it, right? Like for the longest time throughout the game, you've got that person pegged with a particular name until you eventually track down, oh, they had a fake ID. No, they're actually this person. And then that makes some other pieces fall into place because, you talked to their mum or something, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I like that. I feel like that's, we go to Papers, Please a lot.
But to be able to go to Return of the Obra Dinn.
But to be able to put a new twist on Return of the Obra Dinn, what's his name? Chris Pope?
Lucas Pope.
Lucas Pope. On Lucas Pope's other masterpiece. That's really fun. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I was actually looking at, Lucas Pope and Jonathan Blow the other day and sort of thinking these two amazing developers who have done 2 games each and both have been pretty much masterpieces. Yeah,
I definitely give Lucas Pope a lot more credit than Jonathan Blow, mostly because Jonathan Blow is a blowhard, and a bit of a prick, but yes.
I have a look at, Papers, Please and Return of the Obra Dinn, 2 totally different games. Braid and The Witness, 2 totally different games. Like they're both hitting different genres each time they're putting out a new game, which is just fantastic to see.
And they also only put out a new game every 10 years.
Yeah. Which is not a bad thing. Like when they're quality games.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, right, so that does finish up for the night.
If you want to go online, find our previous episodes, shoot us a review, go to podchaser.com/bitstorm and check out all of our huge backlog and other shows we've been on as well. Click through to our creator profiles and see what shows we've guested on.
And we would really like to thank the band Kuradust for allowing us the use of the song map to find stuff for the containment failure.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And what's that covering up the sun? It's blue. No, it's yellow. No, it's blue. No, it's yellow.